Mallard.
Thank you, and it's good to make sure that the time of the opposition parties is well used on this legislation rather than taking another call. It's very kind of Catherine Delahunty to yield the balance of her time to me in order to ensure that we can look carefully at these particular matters. Mr. Speaker, is there a minister in the House?
Yes, sir.
Oh, Jonathan Coleman is here a minute. Sorry, Mr. Finlayson as well. I couldn't see it. That one was hiding. No, I've got plenty to say. I mean, there are some really important changes within Part 3 of this legislation. Amendments to the Tax Administration Act. That one of the questions is whether these changes go far enough. And especially in respect of the late payment penalty in this particular area. I mean, it is a bill, of course, that we will support going to the Select Committee, but part of the question, and I agree with Catherine Delahunty and want to reinforce the point that a number of us will be debating publicly the GST increase, but there are some sensible changes within this legislation in a number of remedial amendments. But the government's approach to GST, its increase in the way that they are hammering families with their increases to GST, they put the power prices up and then they put the GST up on top of that. And what do they say to the superannuitants and others, beneficiaries who are being hammered by this? What they are saying is that there's going to be 5.9% inflation. But we're going to give you nothing at all like that under this legislation, Mr. Speaker. I cannot see anything in this legislation, and it should certainly have been here in order to do this. Although this is quite distinct, it is different to the budget GST matters. It is a very, very good reminder. And I want to thank the government for making sure that we've got this bill at the first reading stage, heading off to the Select Committee, and because that will give people another opportunity, an opportunity at the Select Committee rather than under budget urgency to debate and to focus on GST and the regressive nature of the tax and what. And I thought it was interesting today in the House in his first set of answers, Mr. Boscawen, the new minister, the one who's come in relatively unusual circumstances, seemed. Sorry? No. We knife people in the front in our party, Mr. Garrett, not in the back in the way that the way that Rodney Hyde did that. And we certainly don't go around stealing papers out of their office when they've got Defence Top Secret on them. Mr. Speaker.
Order.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I think we're seeing a slight sign of tension amongst the ACT Party. I think what we're seeing, I think what we're seeing is it's having its pretty bad effects on the whip. And I'd say to the whip, I do have some sympathy for him. I was the whip in the 87 to 90 government, and I think it's fair to say on the basis of keeping a government party together and keeping it cohesive, I didn't do that good a job. But I say to that member, I would have thought with 5 you could keep them on track. But I think if the member talks to Roger Douglas, he will see that even at the worst times, the relationship between Roger. I'm getting there. I'm getting back to GST, Mr. Speaker, because it was in that government the introduction of GST in 1986, but by 1987 there was a proposal for a flat tax, which I'm sure would have had to have a remedial matters, a GST and remedial matters bill in order for it to get there. But the point I'm making to the member is that he's got to do a bit better as whip. He's got to do quite a lot better as whip. If he's going to hold the well, now the member's doing them Brown imitations, and I'm not entirely certain that that's the appropriate thing to do within the House, Mr Speaker. I don't know if it's a parliamentary thing to mimic candidates in that way, Mr Speaker, but I think what we should do now is we should focus on this bill. I think the area around the prevention of the Phoenix fraud schemes that undermine the integrity of GST rules is something which is very useful. There is no doubt that going from a time when GST was first introduced, I think it was seen as pure and simple, and because there was a major drop in the taxation people paid from when I became a Member of Parliament in 1984, the top rate was 66 cents, and it was reduced to 33 when this legislation, the GST legislation, came in. People saw that as a fair cop, and people said, OK, there's a big drop in the marginal rate of taxation, but GST came in. And we didn't have around that time the Phoenix schemes or the cash arrangements or similar things like that. But over a period of time, I think what has happened, and it's happened, and I'll be interested in Mr Bakshi's contribution on this particular issue. I think we've seen it particularly in some trades. We've seen it particularly in some ethnic communities where the cash economy has been working, and the GST area, the GST payments have not necessarily been made. And I think there's been a change of culture in New Zealand, and having this sort of legislation in order to try and tighten up some of those gaps and to reduce the opportunities for that to happen is something which is important. I think it's also good that the bill is clarifying the situation where the GST rules, where some taxpayers have had difficulties, and there's, there is no doubt that there's a need for clarification. I think any of us who's doing some good constituency work know that sometimes the rules do not work towards resolving the problem. There are occasions, especially where the penalty regime is such, where the Crown ends up in a worse position as a result of the implementation of the rules, which are very, very tight, and without necessarily the changes that could happen. There is an approach to the stuff on KiwiSaver amongst the remedial matters here, and I want to say that the Labour Party in later speeches on this bill will be saying, well, maybe it can be used as an opportunity to do what the Prime Minister said and to bring in a savings culture. It's good that KiwiSaver is being brought up again as within the scope of this legislation, and seeing it is within the scope of the legislation, the Labour Party will be pushing for the extension.
His time has expired. I call